Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Coming up with Call of Duty 2024, we're obviously going to be facing another situation of what happens to our content when the new game drops. Now, in previous years, it's always been very standard. The new Call of Duty game drops, you are reset back to level 1, everyone's starting from scratch on the premium title. Warzone, though, has all the stuff from the previous couple of games. Obviously, throughout Warzone 1, this is where the examples were fit the best. MW 2019 dropped, Warzone dropped, you had all the MW 2019 stuff available across the board. Cold War dropped. Obviously, in Cold War, in multiplayer and zombies, you could only use Cold War stuff, but then in Warzone, you could use Modern Warfare stuff, you could use Cold War stuff. Same deal with Vanguard. That dropped, and in Vanguard multiplayer, Vanguard zombies, you could only use Vanguard content, but in Warzone, you could use Modern Warfare content, Cold War content, Vanguard content. The only time that's ever changed was, of course, this past year, going from Modern Warfare 2 into Modern Warfare 3. Call of Duty came up with this sort of new system called carry forward or carry over, which allowed us to use all of our unlocked items within Modern Warfare 2. So your weapons, your operators, your camos, so on and so forth, and bring those into Modern Warfare 3, the premium title, not just Warzone, but also within multiplayer, meaning on launch, we had the most content available to us ever for a single Call of Duty launch, but also kind of made the game feel like a bit more of an add-on rather than a full-on new game. So now the big question going forward this year into Black Ops 6 or Black Ops Gulf War is, how is the carry forward system going to work? And this time around, things get very tricky because, quite frankly, while they haven't specified any details on this as of now, I'm sure we'll get some as we do get closer to launch in several months' time. Either way they go about things is probably not going to sit well with some players. Like, regardless of what they choose, a group of players is probably going to be frustrated and probably going to be annoyed by their decision. But like I said, the first time we ever even saw carry forward was this past year with MW2 and MW3, and quite frankly, one of the driving factors behind that even being possible is the fact that Modern Warfare 3, for the first time in COD history, was a direct sequel in the year following a game. So yes, we've had back in the day MW2 2009 going into Modern Warfare 3, but there was a gap year there, obviously, with Treyarch. So it wasn't a direct sequel with MW3 following up MW2 the next year, right? So with that, obviously the content didn't transfer over. Even now, while yes, MW 2019 was the prequel to MW2, or MW2 was the sequel to MW 2019, the content didn't carry forward because we had Cold War, we had Vanguard separating those two, so it'd be kind of odd if all of it did carry over. So having back-to-back years where it's the same title, the same storyline, and it's a direct sequel made it a lot easier to have those connections and to be able to bring the content from one game to another, and it actually fully made sense. Well, Call of Duty 2024 with Black Ops 6 does make that a little bit more difficult, at least on the premium side, because obviously Black Ops 6, Black Ops Gulf War, all the rumors as of now is that this is going to be a 90s era Call of Duty game based in the Gulf War. So while you have Modern Warfare 2 being modern era COD, modern era weapons, Modern Warfare 3 obviously being modern era COD, modern era weapons, it makes sense to have the weapons all transfer over. Going back to a 90s era Call of Duty, though, with all the MW2 weapons and all the MW3 weapons and carrying that stuff forward, well, that doesn't nearly make as much sense, at least from a logical standpoint, with the time period, certain weapons not being around then, certain attachments, operators, and all the different things we've got going on now where there's Teletubbies in the game, there's evil rabbits, there's all sorts of stuff like that. If they're going at a more, period-based Call of Duty in the 90s, they probably want to have things more rooted in that, with operator skins maybe to reflect that a bit more, with weapons and attachments to reflect the realism there a bit more. So just purely from the lore standpoint, because of the time period and the realism behind that, obviously realism is not a driving factor in COD, but it is taken into account when it comes to storytelling and environments and whatnot. The carry forward there already runs into a major issue, where if they do it, you're now bringing some pretty unrealistic things into a 90s era Call of Duty game. But also, if you don't do it, at least from a premium title standpoint, that significantly devalues everything you did this year within multiplayer or potentially Warzone as well. Leveling up your guns, getting mastery camos, everything like that, not being transferable into the next premium title obviously makes those things feel a lot less valuable. Not to mention store bundles that you bought, operator skins, so on and so forth. Luckily, on the Warzone side of things, it's hard to anticipate things being any different than previous years as of right now. This means that carry forward is likely going to happen within Warzone, and we'll still be able to use all of our MW2 guns with COD 2024's integration, all of our Modern Warfare 3 guns with COD 2024's integration, and obviously all the new COD 2024 options as well. So Warzone shouldn't change, at least for now. Obviously, Warzone 2 was a major reset that did fully, start everyone from scratch there. There was no carry forward, and we'll eventually get to that point again, and I'll talk about that a bit more in just a moment. But what seems to be the most logical outcome from Call of Duty's standpoint is that multiplayer will probably be a start from scratch scenario, and the carry forward will primarily be based around Warzone. Now, again, we're still probably a little ways out from getting official information on this, and when the time and day comes where we do get info, I'll be sure to keep you guys updated with that stuff right as it happens, so stay tuned, make sure you're subscribed for that alongside everything else going on in COD. But just from how Call of Duty is rooted in where they're basing their games, it seems that's probably going to be the most likely scenario. Now, that also does raise the question, though, at what point do we have to stop the Warzone carry forward again? Because we are going to run into a similar situation of Warzone 1, where the game is just entirely too bloated. Having all of the COD 2022 stuff available, all of the COD 2023 stuff available, all of the COD 2024 stuff available, especially in games now where we're seeing so much in-year content added in as well, with new weapons, new operators, all sorts of stuff like that. It becomes crazy to the point where we're gonna have 350 weapons and 90 different operators, and it just is too overwhelming. There's no point in having that much stuff in the game when, 80% of that is never going to be looked back to. All the MW2 guns are going to be irrelevant. MW3 guns are going to be, out of the meta, not really utilized all that much. It just creates a problem across the board for everyone. Players are overwhelmed. The devs are overwhelmed. They have to focus on way too many different things at one time to create a balance. It's just not worth it. So while Warzone carry forward is more than likely, I would say, with COD 2024, we are probably approaching that time yet again where seeing a full reset is very possible here, just to, again, kind of minimize that bloat and make the game a little bit more straightforward and simple. The problem with that, though, is that, again, it's going to devalue that content. And multiplayer already does this when there is that yearly reset, with the exception of MW2 going into MW3. You buy the operator skins, you buy blueprints, you go through and grind all that time getting mastery camos, and then 11 months later, 10 months later, by the time you're done with that stuff, it's completely irrelevant unless you're going back to play the older Call of Duty, which has a smaller player base, the connection's worse. It's probably not as enjoyable or as simple as the new Call of Duty, right? So that devalue is sort of happening year over year, and it's going to happen again with Warzone. And that was a huge thing with Warzone 2. Players were not happy that with Warzone 1, we were under the premise that all the content that we had within Warzone was just going to be there forever. So when you buy operator skins, you spend money in the store, you do all these mastery camos, you get obsidian and whatnot on weapons, that it's just going to be there for as long as you want to use it. And then Warzone 2 comes around and deletes everything, and then they take down the Warzone 1 servers, and that stuff's not even accessible ever in classic Warzone, of course. So it is a sort of lose-lose situation regardless of what happens, but also potentially a win-win situation at the same time. Like I said, regardless of if they end up doing carry forward or not, one side's going to be really happy that they get to keep their content and they can use all this stuff that they just spent a ton of time leveling and unlocking again. Another side's going to be angry that there's like all this bloat in the game. It's not really realistic anymore. We've got futuristic weapons in an old COD, and there's a gazillion different attachments and camos and weapons to choose from, and you don't know what you should spend time doing, what you shouldn't spend time doing, or vice versa. So it's definitely a tough situation, but it's going to have to be one that Call of Duty makes. And either way, like I said, people will be upset and it will be unfortunate, but it kind of just is what it is. But it's an important thing to keep our eyes on, because it's definitely going to be interesting to see how they approach this coming off our very first official carry forward year with MW3. But that being said, that's going to wrap things up for this one. If you enjoyed the video, do me a favor, drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button on your way out to guarantee you're always up to date with COD. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.